They always warned us about the Appalachian trails. They said the mountains don't just have echoes, they have secrets. But my brother, Ethan, and I never listened. We thought a weekend getaway in an isolated cabin would be the perfect escape from the city. We were wrong. The cabin looked just like the old, decaying house from the legends. Weathered black wood, surrounded by dead trees that clawed at the gray sky like skeleton fingers. The first night was quiet. Too quiet. In the deep woods of America, you expect to hear crickets, wolves, or the rustling of leaves. But out there, it was a suffocating, dead silence. Around 3 a.m., the temperature in our bedroom dropped drastically. My breath turned into a white mist. That's when I heard it. A soft, wet scratching sound coming from the window on the second floor. Scratch, scratch, scratch. I woke Ethan up, my heart hammering against my ribs. "Mark, do you hear that? Someone is out there on the porch." "Ethan, stay quiet. Look at the window. We are on the second floor. How can anyone be scratching that high up?" Before Ethan could answer, the scratching stopped. For a second, we thought it was over. But then a voice came from the dark woods outside. It didn't sound human. It sounded like a twisted, distorted version of our mother's voice, calling from the pitch-black darkness. "Boys, it's cold out here. Let me in." Ethan and I stood frozen, staring at each other in the dim light of the bedroom. The voice outside belonged to our mother, but she was hundreds of miles away in Chicago. It was impossible. The tone was wrong, too. It was too rhythmic, almost mechanical, like a broken record repeating a terrifying tape. I forced myself to walk toward the window, every step feeling like heavy lead. Outside, the fog had crawled up from the valley, swallowing the ground. The moonlight barely pierced through the dead trees. I pressed my face against the cold glass and looked down at the porch. There was no one there. The porch was completely empty. But then Ethan gasped and pointed deeper into the tree line. My eyes followed his shaking finger. Standing just past the edge of the woods, where the darkness was thickest, was a shape. It was abnormally tall, thin, and completely black. It looked like a shadow stretched out of proportion. It didn't move. It just stood there watching our window. Suddenly, the scratching started again. But this time, it wasn't on the window. It was right behind us, inside the bedroom, coming from the ceiling directly above our beds. My eyes slowly moved away from the window and looked up at the old wooden ceiling. The sound was loud now, a deep, aggressive clawing right above my head, as if something was desperate to tear through the wood and drop into our room. Ethan was trembling so hard he couldn't even speak. He just pointed upwards, his eyes wide with pure terror. Suddenly, the old ceiling fan in the center of the room began to spin on its own. It started slowly, creaking loudly, and then spun faster and faster, cutting through the freezing air. With a loud snap, the light bulb shattered, plunging us into complete pitch-black darkness. In that silence, the voice came again. But it wasn't outside anymore. It came from the far corner of our bedroom, right next to the closet. It was a perfect whisper, cutting straight through the dark. "I told you, it's cold out here. Why didn't you let me in?" I grabbed Ethan's hand, and we sprinted for the bedroom door. We threw it open, rushed down the dark wooden stairs, and didn't look back. We just wanted to reach our car. But as we burst out onto the front porch, the car headlights suddenly turned on by themselves, blinding us. And there, sitting in the driver's seat of our locked car, was the long, stretched shadow staring back at us through the windshield.
The headlights cut through the fog, illuminating the horrific figure inside our own car. Its long, skeletal hands were gripped tightly around the steering wheel. Slowly, its head turned towards us. It had no eyes, no nose, just a blank, smooth surface of pure darkness where a face should have been. The car doors suddenly unlocked with a loud click. The horn began to blare, echoing like a scream through the empty mountains. We couldn't go to the car, and we couldn't go back into the cabin. We were trapped in the freezing cold, surrounded by the whispering woods. Then, the car door slowly pushed open. The tall shadow began to step out, unfolding its impossibly long limbs into the night air. As its feet touched the gravel, the wind violently picked up, and all the whispers in the trees joined together into one loud, deafening roar. We didn't think. We just turned and ran straight into the pitch-black woods, praying we would find the main road. But as we ran deeper into the dark, our mother's voice didn't come from behind us anymore. It came from right ahead, waiting for us in the shadows.